Okay, so the last thing I'd want to do is claim to be an ultimate authority on this. So take this like a grain of salt, because these are all sandbox thoughts, but nonetheless thoughts that I've been doting on for years now and feel like is worth a conversation. Also, I'm going to be using the words media and mass media a lot, and it doesn't mean all media, but largely most media. I'm not naming names here. The examples I use are purely coincidental.
New rule, we can all stop asking the question, why isn't our government functioning? Why? Because truth is dead and the internet killed it. Remember back in the early 90s when we read about this new thing called the internet that could put the totality of world knowledge right at our fingertips? The problem is that somewhere along the line, the information superhighway became boulevard. Now, of course, the world has always had a lot of gullible people who will buy anything, but at least Americans used to get their news from actual news organizations. Now they get it from chain emails and chat rooms and Facebook posts written by lunatics and sadists.
Besides the fact that chain emails and chat rooms are obsolete and that political Facebook posts are unanimously deemed as the septic tank of proper discourse and education, what throws me off about Maher's opinion is this idea of an age of integrity where Americans used to get their news from actual news organizations. Now, I take no personal issue with Maher's political commentary here and think that some of the jokes he has are funny, but the idea that taking a pitchfork to the internet will somehow bring back inerrant truth to the world makes me feel quite uncomfortable. I think that we're in a golden age right now because power is dispersed. I think that it's cool that small voices can have a say, even if it's not directly to the creator, critic, or reporter. And I think that it's cool that respectable, insightful people who make constructively valuable critics but didn't make it their job can still sound off and improve things, whether it's entertainment, policy, justice, or whatever. I think that with all of these things there can be a negative side, of course, but it's as much the responsibility of an influencer to curate well as it is the responsibility of the viewer to discern well. This made me think about where the independent press sits in all of this, and more specifically, where are the bloggers and the YouTubers in all of this? I'm not really sure how to think about it. Like, I'm still really not, and I guess I really don't care too much about the perception as much as maybe the results, which largely seems kind of positive. But it's interesting when you hear journalists or reporters talk about YouTubers in their industry, it often ends up being either explicitly or implicitly belittling or condescending. They'll say, you know, that company Bethesda wants to promote their game, so they'll end up finding a kid, like a YouTuber kid. It starts off identifying a YouTuber and then the he or she is kind of replaced with the kid. It's not always drawn up as someone who can discern who is working like you. The thing is, it's not even that frustrating because I get that. At the end of the day, YouTube is this free Google service that someone from their bedroom just uploads videos from. So that is what we're doing. There is no barrier of entry. So in a way, that kind of makes sense. But to that same respect, I'm also not knighted as a timeless oracle of taste because I have an undergrad in journalism or because Gawker said so. And I say that as a full-time designer for 6 years with an undergrad in design who people have hired based off of work I've done independently from any workplace or institution. There are a lot of projects that we ship out, and you know, when we ship them, I look at them and I can say, like, no individual, no independent person in their bedroom would be able to handle and ship this on their own without a team, editors, directors, years of experience, questioning, everything, and accountability. There's a vetting process that works, and it's historical, and it works, and it's traditional, and it works. And there are some projects that I see one independent person do from their bedroom, and I just take note that they are so personal, so visceral, so challenging, and so indescribable that I know that there's no way something so exciting made it past the ladder of directors and corporate eyes for people to enjoy without the poignant details being stripped away for appropriation, or reaching the least common denominator, or making everything painstakingly clear out of fear, or some guy higher up who wants credit for some accolade, or personal glory, or employee disdain, or a personal grudge with a coworker. The mass media can see and acknowledge the valuable movements and voices that indie movies and indie games bring to Hollywood and AAA, but they will have nothing to do with indie press. And by the way, I don't consider myself indie press. I'm not a journalist, but it's weird seeing the opposition from the outside. The point is, I see brokenness in both systems, and I have a general idea of the pros and cons of both. I mean, the reality is that there are plenty of YouTubers using next to zero discernment as influencers in the way that they handle brand deals and endorsements. There's no accountability, and in some ways, it can be carried out worse than an organization. There are also people who refuse to do brand deals as a vision for their channel because at the end of the day, a YouTuber is an individual who can believe in anything. I know, it's crazy. And then there's this excerpt.
The street corner nut with the sandwich board used to be laughed at. Now he's linked to. And that's what's so great about Facebook. You're not telling lies, you're just sharing them. More than ever, people today are living an entirely fact-free lifestyle.
Echo chambers existed way before the internet. It's called Fox News and MSNBC, right? The internet didn't force people into echo chambers of self-validation. The internet is just a tool, but we're drawn to communities we agree with, and it's on us to challenge ourselves every once in a while. I chose who I would follow on Twitter, and consequently, my greatest strength and my most deceitful problem is that I believe that everything I'm following is right. There are these two sides of defining what the barrier of entry actually is, and there's a pool of people on both sides that are taking it seriously with ethics statements and accountability. There are also pools of people on both sides who don't, and they get a lot of work anyway because they have a huge following and companies like that. And I think it's just making things interesting as the internet figures itself out and journalism figures itself out, and it's really up to the audience, as it's always been, to discern all that. Which I think is the point. More people than ever in our generation, the most diverse generation this world has ever seen, are keenly aware and get energized over discussing the inconclusives and gray areas of things in life that fall incredibly short of American dream ideals that generations before us idolize, yet carry a sentiment that we all as people are inexplicably magnetized towards. So in a world where generations before us have elevated movie review platforms like movie phone 5-second reviews that sound like this.
Man, it's not super, but it's a huge spectacle, and even a popcorn bucket full of kryptonite can't keep moviegoers away.
We take to YouTube for 30-minute case studies on the things that we value and venues for discussion. In a world where a New York Times bestseller accolade is monetarily purchased and a bustling restaurant can be bustling because people know it's Bobby Flay instead of delicious, we take to alternative broken systems like Yelp and Goodreads. We do these things because we tried the other way, and we were left in wanting. If the people, millions of thinking, working individuals, have chosen their voice on the internet, and the media says no, the days were better when equally estranged people appointed a voice for you to listen to, you have to wonder where their heart is. My name is Satchbag Drakes. Stay copacetic.